Hey everyone, it's Lady Vintage Bags here, your vintage designer handbag obsessed Aussie. And today we're doing something different. We're doing a DIY project. I'm going to take you along with me. It's like a vlog style video and you're literally going to watch me bring this Picotin bag charm to life. It's a DIY kit kindly sent to me by Babylon DIY Kits. You can make bag charms, Kelly bags, Birkin bags, Constance bag. They have so many DIY kits and they kindly sent me one of these Picotin bag charms plus a Kelly bag, which I'm going to be making next. And I'm going to show you how I transform this DIY kit, which has all the bits and pieces. You don't really need anything yourself except for a lighter. And you're going to go from all these individual pieces to this completed Kelly bag charm. And I did this in under 3 hours, or 2 hours, 45 minutes. So you can just be like a sort of day off relaxing project. And I do like sewing projects, so this is definitely up my alley. And I'm going to show you each section one by one. And I'm also going to go through with you some of the mistakes I made so you don't make the same mistakes, some of the contingency plans I had in place, and also some preventative measures so I didn't repeat the same mistake. Okay, so let's get started. Come along with me. So this bag is pretty much made in 5 simple steps. Step 1 is to sew this front strap down. Step 2 is to sew this back strap down. Step 3 is to sew this handle on. Step 4 is to sew the back handle on. And step 5 is to sew the base on. And that is actually sewn inside out. So step 6 would be to flip the whole bag right side out again. So before you get started, I do recommend you watch the tutorial once or twice and also watch it, maybe slow down the speed of the video, because sometimes you may think, oh, I missed what they just said, or I missed the point they just made. So watch it once or twice and even in slower speed, just so you get the gist of how to start. Number 2, if you're not used to threading a needle, don't stress. If you need to take a couple of goes just to do it, take your time. And one thing I like to do when threading needles is, if it appears as though it's fraying and it's not going through the needle, I would cut a fresh edge. So for example, if you think that's too much fraying, I would cut a fresh edge and even just wet it a little bit. Just a little bit like that, wet it, and maybe even twist it just to make sure it's not going to fray. That usually helps me when I'm threading needles, regardless of whatever type of thread I'm using. When you're threading your needle, and you are gonna put the needle back through the thread to lock it out, don't do it too close to the edge. Give yourself like at least 1 centimeter. If you do it too close to the edge, it'll just rip off. Make sure you pull each stitch tight. Each time a needle goes through a hole, pull that tight. Even if you have to do it twice, make sure each stitch is pulled tight every time. Next, one big mistake I made was not clamping things in place. So for example, with the strap, there's 2 edges that need to be attached. I got one edge and then I totally forgot about the other edge. And then I ended up missing, I just sewed the whole thing and it wasn't even attached. So make sure that if you're sewing one end, but you've got another end, get your ball clip, which they provide for you. It's right there for you. Make sure you clip that so you don't miss it. Clip things in place, which is a normal sewing thing to do anyway, because things can easily shift and move. It just makes life easier for you. Next, take regular breaks if you're not used to sewing, so that way you can rest your eyes, rest your back, stretch your legs. As with anything, you don't want to be sitting hunched over for too long. Have fun with it. This is something that if you put love into it and you're patient with it, and you take care of the small steps along the way, you'll be much happier with the final process instead of being frustrated, trying to rush it, maybe trying to take a shortcut. And if you do make a mistake, don't panic. There's really just 2 things you can do. Both of them is, number 1, accept the mistake. Option A is to cut it, undo it and start again. Or option B is to have a contingency plan, maybe sew over the top and live with 2 layers of stitches, which is one of the contingency plans I actually utilized in this project. But don't panic if you make a mistake. The first time you do any project, it's inevitable to make a mistake. It's guaranteed to make a mistake. Don't worry. If you want, no, I want perfection, and you want to cut it, undo it and do it again, enjoy it. Be cathartic about it. And if you're like, no, I'm happy with my stitches, I don't mind stitching over it, again, enjoy it. It's not a frustrating process. Just take your time, take care, and have fun with it. Now, if for any reason you've made a mistake and you want to just reverse out of that one stitch, you can do it. If you make a mistake on 1-2 stitches, you still have an opportunity to reverse out if you want, and I do utilize it. All you have to do is just literally turn the needle around and put it back through that hole, and then it will come out. Don't worry, you can reverse out of it if you need to. So I'm not going to go through each micro step with you because there's actually an official Babylon tutorial video for you to watch, and they provide the link for that in a QR code inside the kit anyway. But just basically what I've done is thread the needle as per their instructions. So on each end of the string, there is a needle. So you're working with 2 needles at once, and they tell you exactly how long each piece of thread should be for each section. And they show you the sewing technique in their official video too. So you can pretty much see what I'm doing is through each hole, one needle goes through the hole in one direction, then the other needle will go through the same hole in the other direction. So each hole gets pierced by 2 needles in opposite directions. And each time you do a stitch, you need to pull it tight each time. If you leave the stitch loose, it may not look very good and it may not hold the pieces together tight. Anything that should line up, always watch the tutorial video to know which way you're supposed to line it up. So here I got a bit confused as to which direction this square ring was supposed to be looped through, and I basically put it on backwards. So really make sure you pay attention and watch the tutorial video several times if you need to, because I got really confused. I ended up putting it on backwards, but that's okay. I can live with that. And use the ball clip they provide to you to clamp things in place. It just makes things so much easier. If you need to use extra ball clips, then get extra ball clips. But I found that for this particular project, the one that they provided was enough. Okay, so in this section, I actually did make a mistake and I had to reverse out of the stitch. So you can see if you make a mistake and you catch it straight away, it is possible to undo that one stitch mistake. So don't panic if it happens. Literally just turn your needle around and go back through that same hole you mistakenly went through, and it can easily undo it. So don't panic. So one part that I found confusing was the instructions said on one side of this strap there would be more holes, and on the other side of the strap there would be less holes, and the side with the lesser holes should go in the inside. However, when I counted, both sides had 15 holes. So I was confused about that. And it said the reason why there is one side with lesser holes and why that should go on the inside is because on the inside it should actually start or stop, whatever you want to call it, at hole number 3 from the bottom. It's not supposed to go all the way down. So because of that, and me having both sides with 15 holes, I literally just started on the inside at hole 3, and now I've got spare holes at the top here. So whether or not I've done that correctly or incorrectly, I don't know. But it said to start at hole 3 here, so I just moved my whole strap up. So I have equal number of holes on both sides, in contrast to what the tutorial said. So I'm not sure about that part. Yay! Okay, so we got the first line of stitching done. Small wins, guys, small wins. We're gonna get this done. Okay, let's go. So this was kindly sent to me by Babylon Leather DIY Kits. And this is something that actually another subscriber, Julie, had emailed me about earlier. She had made a teal Kelly and sent me some photos of a project. So thank you, Julie, for introducing me to this brand. And they had reached out and now they've sent me this Picotin DIY kit and also a Togo Kelly 25cm DIY kit. So that will be the next project. This Babylon DIY kit, it is beginner friendly. So don't be intimidated if you're like, look, I have no sewing experience, never touched a needle and thread in my life. Don't worry, it is for beginners. And this is actually real leather. Some of their kits use top grain cowhide and some of them use full grain cowhide, but nonetheless, they are all real leather and you can even smell it. Like you can literally smell it's the leather. And you can see it's got the raw suede effect on the other side too. Like this is not synthetic, this is not pleather, this is not vegan leather. And don't worry, all the pieces of leather have pre-punched holes so that everything lines up quickly and easily. So you don't need to be straining your eyes. And they also give you a tutorial video for each item. So you literally just watch the tutorial video before you start and then watch each section again so that you know what you're doing. So again, you don't need to bring anything for yourself except for a lighter. And guys, if you are interested in trying a kit, I do have a 10% off promo code of LadyVintageBags. So I'll have it here on the screen for you. Okay, so the second part is now almost identical. We are going to stitch the same type of strap again to the other side of the body of the bag. And this time we're looping 2 of these square rings through there, but it's the exact same process. And if you need to, watch the bit of the tutorial before proceeding. So the method for step 2 was literally the same as the method for step 1. And I forgot to turn my camera on for this section. So I don't have the method to show you, but it is the same as what I've already shown you for step 1. So here is the final product after I finish sewing step 2. And again, I had the same problem with the straps where the tutorial said one side should have less holes and that should go on the inside and one side should have more holes and that should go on the outside. But my strap had identical number of holes, which is 15 holes on each side. So I'm not sure if it was my strap that had the wrong number of holes or the tutorial is outdated. I'm not sure. So the back of the stitching looks pretty much the same as the front. And you can see here where I've cut the thread, where I've done the back stitch, cut the thread and burnt it back. Next is step 3 and step 4, which is the identical step, which is attaching these straps. Again, watch the tutorial before proceeding. And I did make a mistake that I want to warn everyone about here, which is clamp both sides down or start stitching one to anchor it and then use your ball clip to clamp the other side down so that you remember you need to be anchoring this down on the other side too, because I literally forgot and then had to do 2 layers of stitches as a contingency plan because I didn't want to redo the whole thing. So make sure you've got that clamp down on the other side, which you have not yet stitched, so that you don't forget about it. And we're going to do the handles now. The handle positioning will be like this, with that stitched part in the middle of the handle. So it's not going like that, where there's no stitch in the middle. Wherever you see that stitch, the handle goes around it, so the stitch is in the middle of the handle. Just measure out the thread. Okay, getting the hang of doing the threading now. So I can do it pretty quickly now. So one part where I personally found that I did get confused with the alignment of the holes between the strap and the body of the bag is where they meet up and attach along this U bit here. So I was able to line up this last center bottom hole with the last center bottom hole here. No problem, that matched. But then the next following 1, 2, 3, 4 holes on the body of the bag, I have 1, 2, 3 holes. So I felt like there was a mismatch there, and that could be my own mistake. So I felt like on the strap I had 4, but then on the body I only had 3, which meant up here on hole 3 and hole 4, I had to use the same back hole, which is this top one here. So this hole got doubled up on when doing these 2 stitches here. So if you feel confused on your one as well about the alignment, then maybe you can join me in that department and just, even though you feel as though there's 4 holes here but only 3 holes here, you can double up on this hole and then make it work. And if you're wondering which side is the front, which side is the back, the tutorial says the larger holes is for the front and the smaller holes is for the back, if you're confused. Okay, so now we've finished attaching the strap to the bag on this one side. The rest here is going to be decorative stitches only for the rest of the strap. This is actually the part where I made the mistake. That end that I'm stitching around, that was supposed to be clamped down to the body of the bag so that it could be attached. But all I'm doing is just decorative stitches over the handle, and it's not really a handle because it's not attached to the bag. And I didn't realize until I got all the way back down to the end of the handle, and then I went, oh no, it's not even attached to the bag. Luckily, I had a contingency plan. I am going to attach it to the body of the bag with an extra layer of stitches. There'll be 2 layers. That's okay, I can live with that. I'm not going to undo it. In this case, I don't think it's necessary, and I can live with the contingency plan. Oh no, did you notice the mistake I made? I stitched it all the way around without attaching it to the other side of the bag. Ooh. I have 2 choices here. I can either undo it and start again, or I can live with 2 layers of stitching and stitch over the top. What choice would you make? Would you say, no, we're going to have to take that off and do it again? Or would you go with the contingency plan and stitch over the top? I'm actually really happy with the stitches. I thought they're really nice and tight. So I am going to go with the contingency plan and stitch on top. You might not make the same choice. Put your choice in the comment section down below. A, redo it, undo it all, redo it again, or B, contingency plan, do a double layer of stitches. I'm just going to use this spare needle to stab through just so I can line it up, but that's not where I want to put the first stitch. I actually want to put the first stitch at the end here where the strap and the bag first meet. Okay. Now, because I'm going to have 2 layers of stitching, really want to make sure I pull it tight so it's not so bulgy. I can remove my pin that's anchoring it now. Okay, so far you can see the difference there between the side that has a double layer of stitching versus this side, which I haven't done yet with the single layer of stitching. Just so you can tell the difference. You can clearly see that does look thicker, but I don't think it looks super horrible. Okay, so some valuable lessons were learned as I made a mistake putting this strap together. So let's see if I can learn from my mistakes and put the next strap on without repeating the same mistake. So let's go. Okay, so I am going to do the anchoring thing I did again with my spare needle. I'm gonna anchor the very last hole to the very last hole there. This time I actually think I'm gonna start here, right where the strap connects to the bag. So step 4 is actually the same as step 3. We're sewing now the back handle to the body of the bag. Exactly the same process, but this time I now remembered to clamp the other side of the strap down to the body to prevent myself from making the same mistake. So the second handle was a success, didn't need to do any contingency plans, got it right the first time because I learned from my mistake, implemented a preventative measure, and happy days. So I'm just going to speed through this part quite quickly because you've already seen it all in step 3. So the strap is attached to the bag on this side now. Now to prevent myself from making the same mistake I did last time, I'm going to pre-anchor it down on the other side. To remind myself, it needs to be attached. And this way, I don't forget this time. Okay, so let's go on with the decorative stitches. Okay, so I finished this strap now. I've done my back stitch. Let's cut it and bend it back. Okay, so the body of the bag is now done. Now time for step 5, sewing on the base of the bag. Now please watch the part of the tutorial again before proceeding. And you are doing it with the bag inside out and the base inside out because you are going to be flipping it at the end. Now we are up to putting the base on, which you can see I've sort of just temporarily pinned in place there. So that's what the bag will look like. Feeling really proud at the moment, first time doing this. So I'm practicing on the Picotin bag charm because it's a small piece before I go and make the Kelly bag. So I wanted to get all my sort of mistakes out of the way so that I won't repeat them on the bag, because it can be very frustrating when you make a mistake and you're like, oh no, I have to undo the whole thing and do it again, or come up with a contingency plan, whatever it is that you choose. So that's why I got the bag charm as well. Now, one thing I noticed about this step was in the tutorials that I was watching, it said that there is a what's called a center hole on the base piece, and a center hole somewhere along the bottom of the body of the bag, and that allows you to match the two holes up so you know where to place this base piece. However, I don't know, it's my eyesight, because I have really bad eyesight, I cannot find this hole at all, so that's why I'm mapping it out myself with these pins just to see where it goes. And all I literally did was look at, because it's a rectangle, so just to look at which way the long edge should go based off how a Picotin looks. And then all I did was just use this as my center point and then match it up with the center holes of the bag. That was it. So now I do have to take out the pins, turn it upside down, and then we're going to start putting the base on. Okay, so there, I've now re-pinned it and anchored it upside down. So let's get started on sewing the base. So the pins that I had have anchored it. So I've now started stitching. I've only done like 3 stitches there so far. Make sure you pull it tight, each stitch. I would say out of all the sections, this is probably the most important section to make sure each stitch is pulled tight, because it will affect the shape of the base. Now when you get to the corner bit, it might be hard to line it up, but if you're trying to put the needle through both pieces of leather at once, so just put it through the hole one at a time. So putting it through the base and now finding the hole on the body. I don't need to go through both if it's not clearly visible. I can just go through them one at a time. So through the body, and then trying to find the hole for the base. There it is. Okay, because the corner, it can be a little bit difficult. Pull tight. Okay, we're now turning the corner, literally and figuratively. Okay, I'm going to do the final back stitch. Okay, so this is now the base stitched on. Okay, now step 6, flip the bag inside out to see the final product. Okay, so pretty happy with how tight my stitches were, because you really cannot see them on the outside at all. Now to help push everything out, I'm just going to use my mobile phone. And now I'm just going to press the sides or the edges, just kind of get it out the whole way. Alright, so yeah, you basically cannot see the stitches from the outside, which is why it's really important to pull each stitch really tight on the base, each stitch one by one. Yay! So there she is. Let's do a twirl. I've still got the blue tape on the lock there. So this is her. I'll just get rid of the lock so you can see more detail. Okay. That's the base. Oh. So not bad. This was a, so I'm going to add up all the time. So half an hour, that's 1 hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that was about 45 minutes. So 2 hours, 45 minutes to make the Picotin bag charm. I'm sure it's going to be longer to make the actual Kelly bag, which is the next project. And bear in mind, I did make a mistake. I have this facing the wrong way. And this Picotin bag charm is going to hold my doggy bags. There it is. So what do you guys think? Is this a project you would try for yourself? So maybe give yourself, so I did it in 2 hours, 45 minutes. Maybe give yourself a 3 to 4 hour window just to include the time to watch the tutorial. And you got to watch it several times. So you got to watch it once or twice before starting it all, and then watch each section individually as you go as well. So next up, we're going to do the project of sewing our own DIY Kelly bag from Babylon. So keep an eye out for that. Now, if you haven't already seen, I did do a massive shopping spree, which I shouldn't have done. And I'm going to link that video here. And I also show you the latest 2 handbags that I unboxed, and I'm going to leave that video here.